Welcome to today's reading from the Krishna book. We are reading the chapter The Deliverance of Mucukunda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. When Krishna entered the cave of the hill, Kalyavan followed, chastising him with various harsh words. Krishna suddenly disappeared from the demon's sight. But Kalyavan followed and also entered the cave. The first thing he saw was a man lying down asleep within the cave. Kalyavan was eager to fight with Krishna, and when he could not see Krishna, but instead saw only a man lying down, he thought that Krishna was sleeping within this cave. Kalyavan was very much puffed up and proud of his strength, and he thought Krishna was avoiding the fight. Therefore, he strongly kicked the sleeping man, thinking him to be Krishna. The sleeping man had been lying down for a long time. When awakened by the kicking of Kalyavan, he immediately opened his eyes and began to look around in all directions. At last, he saw Kalyavan standing nearby. This man was untimely awakened and therefore very angry. And when he looked upon Kalyavan in his angry mood, rays of fire emanated from his eyes, and Kalyavan burned to ashes within a moment. When Maharaj Parikshit heard this incident of Kalyavan's being burned to ashes, he inquired about the sleeping man from Shukadev Goswami. Who was he? Why was he sleeping there? How had he achieved so much power that instantly by his glance Kalyavan was burned to ashes? How did he happen to be lying down in the cave of the hill? He put many questions before Shukadev Goswami, and Shukadev Goswami answered them as follows. My dear king, this person was born in the very great family of King Ikshvaku, in which Lord Ramchandra was also born. And he happened to be the son of a great king known as Mandhata. He himself was also a great soul and was also known popularly as Mucukunda. King Mucukunda was a strict follower of the Vedic principles of Brahminical culture, and he was truthful to his promise. He was so powerful that even demigods like Indra used to ask him to help in fighting the demons, and as such he often fought against the demons to protect the demigods. The commander-in-chief of the demigods, known as Kartikeya, was satisfied with the fighting of Mucukunda, but once he asked that the king, having taken so much trouble in fighting the demons, retire from his fighting and take rest. Kartikeya addressed King Mucukunda, My dear king, you have sacrificed everything for the sake of the demigods. You had a very nice kingdom, undisturbed by any kind of enemy, but you left that kingdom, neglecting your opulence and possessions, and never cared for fulfillment of your personal ambitions due to your long absence from your kingdom while fighting the demons on behalf of the demigods. Your queen, your children, your relatives, and your ministers have all passed away in due course of time. Time and tide waits for no man. Now, even if you return to your home, you will find no one living there. The influence of time is very strong. Time is so powerful because it is a representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Time is therefore stronger than the strongest. The influence of time can effect changes in subtle things but without difficulty. No one can check the progress of time. As an animal tamer tames animals according to his will, time also adjusts things according to its own will. No one can supersede the arrangement made by Supreme Time. Thus addressing Mucukunda, the demigod requested him to ask any benediction he might be pleased with, except the benediction of liberation. Liberation cannot be awarded by any living entity but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Therefore, another name of Lord Vishnu or Krishna is Mukunda, he who can award liberation. King Mucukunda had not slept for many years. He was engaged in the duty of fighting, and therefore he was very tired. So when the demigod offered a benediction, Mucukunda simply thought of sleeping. He replied as follows, My dear Kartikeya, best of the demigods, I want to sleep now, and I want from you the following benediction. Grant me the power to burn to ashes by my mere glance anyone who disturbs my sleep, and awakes me untimely. Please give me this benediction." The demigod agreed and also gave him the benediction that he would be able to take complete rest. Then King Muchukunda entered the cave of the mountain. On the strength of the benediction of Kartikeya, Muchukunda burned Kalevan to ashes simply by glancing at him. When the incident was over, Krishna came before King and actually entered the cave to deliver King Muchukunda because of his austerity. But Krishna did not appear before him. He arranged that first Kalevan should come before him. That is the way of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He does one thing in such a way that many other purposes are served. He wanted to deliver the king who was sleeping in the cave, and all the time he wanted to kill Kalevan who had attacked Mathura city. By this action, Krishna served all purposes. When Lord Krishna appeared before Muchukunda, the king saw him dressed in a yellow garment, his chest marked with the symbol of Srivatsa and the Kaustubh jewel hanging around his neck. Krishna appeared before him with 4 hands as Vishnumurti, with a garland called Vajanti hanging from his neck down to his knees. He looked lustrous, his face was beautifully smiling, and he had nice jeweled earrings in his ears. Krishna appeared more beautiful than any human can conceive. Not only did he appear in this feature, but he glanced over Muchukunda with great affection, attracting the king's mind. Although he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the oldest of all, he looked like a fresh young boy, and his movements were just like those of a free deer. Still, he appeared extremely powerful. His influence and vast power are so great that every human being should be afraid of him. When King Muchukunda saw Krishna's magnificent features, he wondered about his identity, and with great humility he asked the Lord, "My dear Lord, may I inquire how it is that you happen to be in the cave of this mountain? Who are you? I can see that your feet are just like soft lotus flowers. How could you walk in this forest full of thorns and pebbles? I am simply surprised to see this. Are you not therefore the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the most powerful amongst the powerful? Are you not the original source of all illumination and fire? Can I consider you one of the great demigods like the sun god, the moon god, or Indra, king of the heaven? Or are you the predominating deity of some other planet?" Muchukunda knew very well that every higher planetary system has a predominating deity. He was not ignorant like modern men who think that this planet Earth is full of living entities and all others are vacant. The inquiry from Muchukunda about the Krishnas being the predominating deity of a planet unknown to him is quite appropriate, because he was a pure devotee of the Lord. King Muchukunda could immediately understand that Lord Krishna, who had appeared before him in such an opulent feature, could not be one of the predominating deities in the material planets. He must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who has many Vishnu forms. Muchukunda therefore took him to be Purushottam, Lord Vishnu. He could see that the dense darkness within the mountain cave had been dissipated by the Lord's presence. Therefore, he could not be other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Muchukunda knew very well that wherever the Lord is personally present by his transcendental names, qualities, forms, and so on, there cannot be any darkness of ignorance. He is like a lamp placed in the darkness. He immediately illuminates a dark place. King Muchukunda was eager to know the identity of Lord Krishna, and therefore he said, "O best of human beings, if you think I am fit to know your identity, kindly tell me who you are. What is your parentage? What is your occupational duty? And what is your family tradition?" King Muchukunda thought it wise, however, to identify himself to the Lord first, otherwise he had no right to ask the Lord's identity. Etiquette is such that a person of less importance cannot ask the identity of a person of higher importance without disclosing his own identity. King Muchukunda therefore told Lord Krishna, "My dear Lord, let me first inform you my identity. I belong to the most celebrated dynasty of King Ikshwaku, but personally I am not great as my forefathers. My name is Mucukunda, my father's name was Mandhata, and my grandfather was great King Yuvansava. I was very much fatigued due to not resting for many thousands of years, and because of this, all my bodily limbs were slack and almost incapable of acting. To revive my energy, I was taking rest in this solitary cave, but I have been awakened by someone unknown who has forced me to wake up, although I was not willing to do so. For such an offensive act, I have burned this person to ashes simply by glancing over him. Fortunately, now I can see you in this grand and beautiful feature. I think, therefore, that you are the cause of my killing my enemy. My dear Lord, I must admit that due to your bodily effulgence unbearable to my eyes, I cannot see you properly. I can fully realize that the influence of your effulgence has diminished my power, and I can understand that you are quite fit for being worshipped by all living entities. Seeing the king eager to know about his identity, Lord Krishna answered smilingly as follows. My dear king, it is practically impossible to tell you about my birth, appearance, disappearance, and activities. Perhaps you know that my incarnation Anantadev has unlimited mouths, and for an unlimited time, he has been trying to narrate fully about my name, fame, qualities, activities, appearance, disappearance, and incarnations, but still he has not been able to finish. Therefore, it is not possible to know exactly how many names and forms I possess. It may be possible for a material scientist to estimate the number of atomic particles which make up this earthly planet, but the scientist cannot enumerate my unlimited names, forms, and activities. Many of the sages and saintly persons have tried to list my different forms and activities, yet they have failed to make a complete list. But since you are so eager to know about me, I may inform you that I have now appeared on this planet just to annihilate the demoniac principle of the people in general and re-establish the religious principles enjoined in the Vedas. I have been invited for this purpose by Brahma, the superintending deity of this universe, and thus I have now appeared in the dynasty of the Yadus as one of their family members. I have specifically taken my birth as a son of Vasudev in the Yadu dynasty, and people therefore know me as Vasudev, the son of Vasudev. You may also know that I have killed Kamsa, who in previous life was known as Kalnemi, as well as Pralambasur and many other demons. They have acted as my enemies and I have killed them. The demon who was present before you and also acted as my enemy, and you have very kindly burned him to ashes by glancing over him. My dear Muchukunda, you are my great devotee, and just to show you my causeless mercy, I have appeared in this cave. I am very affectionately inclined towards my devotees, and in your previous life, before your present condition, you acted as my great devotee and prayed for my causeless mercy, and I have therefore come to see you to fulfill your desire. Now you can see me to your heart's content. My dear king, now you may ask me for my benediction as you wish, and I am prepared to fulfill your desire. It is my eternal principle that anyone who comes under my shelter must have all his desires fulfilled by my grace. When Lord Krishna ordered the king to ask a benediction from him, the king was joyful and he immediately remembered the prediction of Garg Muni, who had foretold before that in the 28th millennium of Vaivastha Muni, Lord Krishna would appear on this planet. As soon as he remembered this prediction, he understood that the Supreme Personality, Narayan, was present before him as Lord Krishna. He immediately fell down at his lotus feet and began to pray as follows. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, I can understand that all living things on his planet are illusioned by your external energy and enamored of the illusory satisfaction of sense gratification. Being fully engaged in illusory activities, they are reluctant to worship your lotus feet because they are unaware of the benefits of surrendering to them. They are subjected to various miserable conditions of material existence. They are foolishly attached to so-called society, friendship, love, which merely produce different kinds of miseries. Illusion by your energy, everyone, whether man or woman, is attached to this supreme material existence, and all are engaged in cheating one another in a great society of the cheaters and the cheated. These foolish persons, not knowing how fortunate they are to have obtained this kind of human life, are reluctant to worship your lotus feet. By the influence of your external energy, they are attached to the glare of material activities, to so-called society, friendship, and love. Like dumb animals, they have fallen into a dark well. The example of a dark well is given because in the fields there are many wells unused for years and covered over by grass, and poor animals, not knowing of them, fall into them, and unless rescued, they die. Being captivated by a few blades of grass, the animals fall into a dark well and meet death. Similarly, foolish persons, without knowing the importance of the human form of life, spoil it simply for sense gratification and die without any useful purpose. So we'll continue our reading from here onwards tomorrow, and we've been just hearing about the dialogue between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the King Mucukunda, who was an heir of the dynasty of the Ikshvaku. I hope you all have a very nice day ahead. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you, Narayan Keshav Prabhu, for watching. Hare Krishna.